On today's podcast, we had Kath from Think Wine and Social Nation. Social Nation is a social media marketing company, and Think Wine is a skinny Prosecco company, which is the greatest tasting skinny Prosecco company on the planet. We spoke about how Kath started the business, but also probably one that hits home the most is how she's been faced with so much adversity recently. She's been through fraudulent investors. She's been through people stealing money from her. It's a great episode if you're into business, if you're into startup business, or you're into entrepreneurship. Please learn lessons and enjoy the podcast. Okay, so today on the podcast, I've got Kath. Kath is the founder of Think Wine, which I've got here, beautiful, Ooh. And the founder of Social Nation, which is a social media company. Yeah. So, one, I want to get into like how a woman gets into a Prosecco company. We didn't get into it, you like invented it. And two, some hot tips and tricks on social media because everybody could use them. So Kath, hi, nice to meet you again.
Hi.
We've met loads of times over the years.
Yeah. It's fab to see you.
It is. It's brilliant. And I'm glad I've got you on. So how did you come up with this skinny Prosecco? Is that right? Is that what
yeah.
Is that what it is? It's skinny Prosecco, isn't it?
Yeah. So
okay.
It's low sugar, so which in turn makes it low calorie. It's
Brilliant.
Vegan, it's organic, it's low sulfate. It's as clean as it could be without the removing of alcohol.
Okay.
Because that was the bit that I didn't want to get rid of.
Well, true. I mean, I don't drink much, but when I do drink this.
Yeah.
It's really nice, tastes amazing.
Thank you so much.
How did you go from, did you have the social media company first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my background really is influencer marketing. So
right.
That's my other business. It's called Social Nation. We manage people with just large followings on social media, predominantly Instagram or TikTok. And I suppose when I was working alongside influencers and with other like brands, we were seeing how well influencers were able to sell products for other brands.
Right.
So for example, a cosmetics company, if they paid us £1,000 for a post,
yeah,
they were then seeing, they were, getting the content created, posted, and then they were seeing like £30,000 back in the bank.
So talk to me how that works. I mean, it's different now. It doesn't
completely
work.
Not the same.
Not the same.
No.
But back in the day when you first kicked off the business, you'd have an influencer, maybe who had 250,000 followers, who would be great for a cosmetics company. The cosmetics company would approach you and say, and you would broker the deal between the influencer and the cosmetics company. Yeah.
So the majority of the time, like, it wasn't as easy as them approaching me. It was usually me begging them to try out my influencer.
Okay.
Because it started, when it wasn't monetized. So it was like the brands would approach you about gifting.
Okay.
And then they'd say, oh, can I gift them this dress or can I gift them this lipstick? And you'd be like, well, you can, but you're not getting a post.
Yeah.
But if you pay us, then you can. So then I started kind of reaching out to brands just like randomly, and they'd never even heard of this form of marketing because it was that new.
Yeah.
So I'd have to explain it to them, like, look, if you pay us, I don't know,
X, Y, and Z,
however much, they will create like content all about your product, what it does, how good it is, how they use it regularly. When they post it, you will almost immediately see an increase in traffic to your website and in sales. And in the very, we're talking 10 years ago now, it was not a saturated market. It was brand new. And the return on investment was just phenomenal. It was mad.
Yeah. I mean, you're using big influencers, like big celebrity TV stars, reality stars, were you back then?
Predominantly reality TV for me.
Yeah.
I think it was because the agency that I work for, my first agency, they kind of noticed that there was no talent agency for a reality TV star because no one was taking them on because they weren't classed as talent.
Yeah.
Like they were just reality TV.
Yeah. They were just people that had a lot of back on Twitter back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. They had a lot of followers on Twitter, but they weren't technically talent. So while the talent agencies weren't taking them on, he kind of initiated like, okay, let's start an agency for this non-talent talent, because he knew that he'd be able to help grow their platforms and things like that. So we were really a reality TV base, but we had some really big, people had like 5 million followers and we had some really big clients. And as I say, like they pay us maybe back then probably about £2,000 for a post.
Per post.
Okay. Yeah. And then honestly, some brands would say to me the next day, oh, I've made 50 grand. And I'd be like, what? You paid $2,000 and made 50? Like there was no marketing like it. And now it's not the same. Like the market's saturated. Everyone's an influencer. Brands have been doing it. And the ASA obviously are very strict on, you've got to use ads. You've got to say what it is you're doing. So I still believe it to be powerful because I use them as well for Think. And, you know, we do get, you can see there's a spike in sales, but it's not to that level anymore. It's more like you might spend $1,000 and make 3.
Right. It's like really
way less.
Way less. I mean, I've never used them.
No.
The whole reason is, yes, I know you can buy anyone's opinion. Like you said, listen, if you give us this amount of money, they will say that they've been using it and it's fantastic. I think people just see through that. And with the products like mine, which isn't a makeup or a fake tan or something, it's a lot more of a personal decision. This is something really serious in their life. Something like the menopause or PCOS or something, you want to be able to trust the person that it's coming from. So if I just bought a load of influencers and said, oh, well, can you say this product's amazing? I actually think it would have done us disservice. And, you know, I just wanted this brand to have way more integrity than that. So while I do believe in, listen, if I had any other kind of like business apart from a health business, I would 1,000,000% do my entire marketing strategy in the same direction.
That,
because I know people who do that. But the return on investment, I think people think these days, especially if you have an influencer as well, they think, I mean, I get emails all the time off influencers and say, I charge this much per post. And I'm like, well, I don't know how, because you don't warrant that kind of money. You really don't warrant. And they think they have more power than they have. And actually what I say to them is, if you charged 1/10 of that price, you'd get me or somebody like me. I'm not buying them, but you would get somebody who might buy like a package of 10 posts. And then, you know, say you buy, I don't know, an ad at like £500, and then that business goes and makes $4,000. Then now it's not risky anymore. But if you've got to chart, you're going to go in at 3 and you're going to make 4. Then they're not going to buy as much from you.
It's true, it is, and that's what. We struggle with that as an agency because some of our influencers are sold the dream through another agency, and they're like, "What, you're only charging, let's say $3,000 a post? You're worth 6." And I'm like, well, we get the feedback from brands and we know that you only made 5. So how am I going to charge them 6 when you're only making them 5? So it's finding that balance between like being realistic to everyone involved. I think that's why as an agency, we've always been successful because we have tried to be realistic and we don't, I completely get what you're saying, like about a lot of brands don't actually use influencers, but then there is sometimes, for example, like some of my influencers, they buy MAC Cosmetics and they use it all the time, but they still won't promote them unless they pay them.
Correct.
Even though they genuinely love that product, they're like, well, no, if I'm getting paid for doing this, then I'm only going to do it if you pay me. So in that circumstance, I might reach out to MAC and be like, look, she absolutely adores it. She uses it every day. You can see there's 3 organic posts where she's using it. So how about you pay her and we'll direct all that traffic straight to you. And then they'll go, sometimes they'll say absolutely not. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, of course, great. And then it works out well. So sometimes it does work out, like as long as they genuinely do love the product and they're the good fit for the audience, shall we say. But with ours, we always try and make sure there's a match. Like if it looks way off, sometimes they'll accept it and we have to, as an agent, just do what they say. So if they say, I want to do it anyway, but we're like, oh, you don't even use that and you don't like it. But we try and steer away from that because, as you say, it's so obvious. And some of them are so blatant that it's like it doesn't fit their profile at all.
Absolutely.
So we try and just, you know, keep it as real as we can. Even though sometimes it's not.
No, absolutely. I get that. And it's marketing at the end of the day. So, I mean, if a brand was starting out now, how would you split it? If you were advising a brand with their social media strategy, because it's not just influencer marketing, but you actually do give like other social media advice as well with Social Nation, absolutely. Don't you?
Yeah, because we, when the influencer's creating the content, we don't just want that content to go on the influencer's page. We want the brand to reshare it. We want them to put some spend behind it on the Facebook ads. We want them to utilize it to the best of their ability. And also someone might come to us with a budget and then we have a look on the website and we go, oh my God, we're going to crash that site.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely going to get crashed without doubt. So then we have to advise them like, look, your website is not in tip-top condition.
Right. It's not going to cope with that volume.
It won't cope with the traffic. Yeah. So you're going to lose sales, you're going to lose money. Can you please just sort your website out and then come back to us? Because it's no use to us to work with someone once. We want to work with them long term. And if we crash their site, they make no sales, then that's them gone as a client forever. While as we could really advise them throughout the process of how to get the best result. And then, they're going to be happy. And a lot of brands now, they're not so bothered about the return as they are of at least breaking even.
Right.
Because they want the new followers. They want the content to be able to put spend behind, and then they'll see more of a return on that front. But they're happy as long as they broke even on the post, which we can normally 99% we can break even.
Right.
It's just we're aiming to go.
Let's go a bit higher than that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I had another brand, and I always think about this actually. I always think about starting something else, completely not in the health space.
So do I.
It's just like completely just because I'm quite good at manufacturing now and I know so much more about like being in business, being in an e-com business. I always think I could try my hand at that or that or that or that. Yeah. And I always have ideas for stuff, not in the health space whatsoever.
Do you have to rein yourself in?
Yeah.
I do that as well.
All the time.
Like, no, you can't.
Yeah. And I think, I'm itching to do that. But I would probably... I would start my social media strategy with thinking about those things, influencer marketing.
Yeah. Do you do Facebook ads and stuff?
Yeah, we do Facebook ads, and Instagram ads.
Is that where you pull in the most people, Facebook?
At the beginning, it was organic. So I had the business for like 12 to 18 months and it was purely organic. Okay. So I managed to build a business. I truly believe you can't build a business on Facebook marketing. I actually met someone a couple of weeks ago who literally all he does is build businesses on Facebook marketing.
Really?
And I'm like, he completely has a different approach to me. Mm-hmm. Super successful.
Yeah.
But we'll spend his way out of things. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, I want loyalty, I want trust.
Yeah.
Whereas he probably just wants like the one hit wonder.
Yeah.
But I want the loyalty and the trust and the longevity of that customer.
Yeah.
Especially the subscription business. It's the lifetime customer, isn't it? The longevity of it. So I really cultivate those relationships.
Yeah.
I don't want people to go in, this is not an impulse purchase. I want you to think about it. If you want to ask more questions. Mm-hmm. You're not taking up more of my time. Honestly, ask 10, ask 20 questions if you want before you purchase. We're always going to be here. Yeah. I'd rather you do that and you be a quality customer than a flash in the pan.
Absolutely.
And everybody I ever meet in marketing tells me I'm doing it wrong, but I believe I'll be doing it well. I really value my customer service over anything. Yeah. So
we're the same. But maybe a bit to our detriment sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because you find yourself sometimes losing money where you think you're absolutely lying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like it hasn't arrived for the 5th time now. Right, okay.
How many times can it not arrive?
Yeah. So
now and again. But we're the same, like huge on customer service. And I was actually talking to Kelly about your subscription model because I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like I would like to build one, but at the same time, I'm not trying to encourage alcoholism.
No.
And it is because ours is, it's not the cheapest wine on the market for sure. So it's more about that you want quality over quantity. So you're probably not nailing 6 bottles a week.
No.
But if you have just a drink every month, you want a high quality, nice wine. So maybe a subscription model where you can just have like 2 bottles a month.
Yeah.
And it's nice and it ticks over and it's just going to arrive at your door. We want to try and build a bit of that in. But I was discussing that with Kelly, just saying like, I love the fact that yours is on subscription because I think it's a great model.
Yeah. So let's get into the Prosecco. So how did it start? When did it start?
So obviously off the back of Social Nation, I was like, wow, the insane return on investment that we're making for these brands. I would love to make that for myself, for my own brand. But what do I want my brand to be? And similar to you, I'd seen so many of those type of businesses where it's like, they're just, buying crap from China, white labeling it, and then shipping it off. And they never see that customer again. Yeah. But they're selling it by the thousands. And it's so cheap as well. So it's like, it is an impulse buy. It's 5-6 quid. Okay, thanks. I've seen so many of those people come through, but I've seen them make loads of money. But I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted something I was passionate about. It was going to have longevity. And, eventually I could hopefully sell for a lot of money. So I'm like, well, what am I interested in? What do I love? And then literally the only passion really, I love wine holidays. I'd always gone on wine tasting events. I was always interested in wine from a young age. And I thought, oh, I'd love to create a wine. But then as well as that, I've always like battled my weight. So I'm up and down, like, you know, I can lose weight quite rapidly, but I can gain it rapidly as well. And I've always like kind of been like, no sugar. It's probably an unhealthy way to live because you end up just going, no, I'm not eating sugar for 6 months. And then you eat sugar again after 6 months. So it's not right. But I was thinking, I'm gaining so much weight at these events because I'm getting a glass of champagne on arrival or a glass of Prosecco on arrival or a cocktail and they're full of sugar. So I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could just have it with way less sugar but still got alcohol in? Because you could find them on the market, but they were all like 3% alcohol.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, that's not really what I want. And it was just a thought like that. It was like a fleeting thought. And then I started Googling it to see if anything existed. There was one product and I ordered it and it just tasted of hell. Like, honestly, it was
really rank.
Like back of your throat, you know, that one where it hits you and you go, ugh. And I thought, if this is the only thing on the market for this, then, you know, I could be flying. And it was just a thought that ran away with me. Like I could not stop until I'd done it. So I started saving money because I already had Social Nation. So that was a completely different business to think because it was profitable basically immediately.
Okay.
I already had, by the time I left my old role, I had loads of clients, I had loads of brands, I had loads of connections. So all I needed was a phone, a laptop. I didn't even need an office.
Yeah.
So it was like no overheads whatsoever. So I made money literally day one of that business beginning and I was profitable day one.
Yeah.
And I was so like, oh wow, well, isn't
this
business
is easy? Yeah.
Oh, hee. Yeah, it's so easy this. And, you know, so I was able to save a bit of money. I ended up getting a loan. That's another story in itself, but a lady that I met, she lent me a bit of money as well. And then I set about...
Have you got a partner in the business now?
No,
okay.
It's just me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I set about like the creation of the product.
Yeah.
So that was difficult as well because the wineries that I visited, they didn't want to create a product with me.
Right.
They wanted me to white label their product.
Right.
So they were like, oh, well, this is our lowest sugar item.
Yeah.
Why don't you just stick your label on that? And I was like, well, no, it's not what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be able to create my own product alongside you.
Okay.
And then, you know, we'll have a contract that says you can't give this specific wine to anyone else.
Yeah.
So, you know, I already lost 20 odd wineries who wouldn't agree to that. And that whittled it down. I think there was about 10, but then I wanted it vegan and organic. Some of them were only vegan. Some of them were just organic. So by the time I'd found like low sulfite, vegan, organic, family run, happy not to white label, there was probably about 3 or 4 wineries that I added down to. And then when I went in my winery, I just knew it. The feeling, the family owned, how much care of their grapes, how much they were like willing to help me and how much they were willing to sit down with me and create the recipe. I just knew it was them. And also their wine was phenomenal.
And where's the winery?
It's in Treviso in
Italy.
Oh,
Italy. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So that was it. We found the winery. We developed it together. And then when kind of I hit like the nail on the head with the recipe, we started producing it.
And then how big was
3 years ago?
How big was your first order?
Well, yeah, so that was the problem really, because it was more expensive than I could really afford, because you have to buy, if you're creating your own product, you have to buy the full tank.
Yeah.
If I was just taking theirs, I could have bought really a couple of thousand.
Low MOQ, yeah.
But because I had to take the full tank, it was like 20,000 bottle order. Right. Which obviously is major.
And how long is the shelf life?
2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's assuming that you keep it in the dark.
Yeah.
So as soon as you expose it to sunlight, it might not
So then you've
last.
got storage issues. So you've got to get it over to, so you've got 20,000 bottles now in Italy made. Yeah. And you've got to get it over to the UK and you've got to store it and sell it at a vast amount. And, you know, I'd like to think you started marketing it before you made it.
Yeah, well, not quite, but yeah, basically alongside as it was being made, we did start like putting the feelers out, doing events, sending samples to influencers, but it wasn't, obviously the branding wasn't on point yet.
Right.
But yeah, we did start getting the cogs moving.
Yeah.
And we actually did our launch party before we even had our product here.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to try and create that hype. But yeah, that's where the difference is. So I've gone from this really easy to run business that I know inside out. I've never worked in the
manufacturing
wine world
space
or
and the wide world.
manufacturing.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the expense of getting things from Italy, importing it, the duty costs on the bottle of wine, all these things were like a big
packaging
slap
costs.
in the face.
It's things like, the silver bit that goes on top of it.
Yeah.
The labels that go on top of the bottles, any info that goes inside the packet when you give it to your customers. All of these are costs.
Yeah.
The boxes that they come in, the forklift truck for the frigging warehouse you've got to put it in.
It's got to be more to have a forklift thing on.
Yeah.
Oh, and
So, but all people don't realise these costs when they start in a business. So you learn the hard way.
And that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So obviously it was like a big slap in the face. Like, wow.
Not a slap in the face. It's a lesson
it's a lesson.
You've learned.
Lesson or a blessing.
Well, it is. It's just, you don't know what you don't know until you do it.
Yeah.
And an ounce of action, I saw this on a church the other day, an ounce of action is worth more than a ton of theory. So if someone that can just tell you all these things, but actually you've got to feel that pain yourself.
I felt it.
Yeah.
I felt it. And I thought, okay, I can't believe that I thought running a business was so easy. And it's because it was just a different style of business.
Yeah.
While as this, there's so many overheads. And, it took 3 years for us to break even.
Right.
While as I say, Social Nation profitable day one. So it has been an uphill slog.
Yeah.
And
but in a regular business, that's not an uphill slog because most companies are in debt. I always speak to my accountant about this because we were pretty much profitable in like year one, like ridiculously. So it was really good. Yeah. But he's like, you're doing really well. Most companies don't break even until year 3.
Yeah.
And so when I go through like my figures and stuff, so actually it's only because you were used to Social Nation, it was profitable because you didn't have any overheads. But it's totally different to manufacturing. This is just you and your skill set. People are just paying you for your phone book. That's all you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are that barrier between that influencer and that brand.
Yeah.
Really, the brand could go behind your back and go straight to the influencer, but they probably feel more comfortable because they'll probably be contracted to you. Exactly. So it works for everybody better. But the strength of your skills there is you've got that contact book that no one can get hold of.
Yeah.
But this is a whole different ball game.
I know.
So don't be too hard on yourself. Like literally, you're so hard on yourself. That is not a failure.
Yeah.
If you're profitable, if you're breaking even after 3 years, it's great because this might be a 25-year business.
Yeah. And
so
I think
in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. That's nice to hear. I guess I have been hard on myself recently because of like a few setbacks that I have had on the journey recently. That is like, I've always seen myself as really resilient and I am. But I think when things have happened previously, like I've been knocked, I've had a bit of time to recover and get back up. But it's like, I've been knocked like consecutively. Like I'm not even up yet and you've knocked me back down and I'm trying to get up again and you've knocked me back down. Like, can you just give me a minute to recover?
I know.
Before we have to go again.
So talk about some of those knocks then. So what's been going on recently?
So the first one was, actually my first one was like about a year ago and it was, or maybe a bit more than a year ago. It was one of the employees at Social Nation. I classed as a very, very good friend of mine as well. Ended up stealing like £14,000 from the business.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
how? Is it cash?
I know how.
Do you have any cash in the business or?
A little bit, but not really now.
Right.
Like I'd say now, no. But at the time there was a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was more so, he was actually pretending to be an influencer.
Right.
And invoicing directly from his personal bank account to the brands.
Right.
On all our like headed stuff. So it just took a minute to like uncover, but obviously it would always be uncovered because you have an accountant and you have an end of year and it was always going to be uncovered. But it's just that like throughout those few months period, he'd got away with it and then he'd left the business.
Right.
So by the time I'd found out he'd left the business, but obviously it did get uncovered. And actually in the end, after a struggle, I did get the money back from his parents. But that was like the beginning of, a bit of like a messy period. And then that led to me like you say, everything's a lesson or a blessing.
Yeah.
That led to me like going, right, okay, well, how do we tighten everything in this business so that this can never happen again? Because even though it would have always been noticed, it could have been noticed sooner. So it was like, how do we tighten things up around here? How do we, make sure this doesn't happen again? So we've become much more bulletproof now. But then the next thing was, when I was initially getting our wine, I used a wine agent. And the only reason I did that is because obviously the people who run wineries, they speak Italian. I don't speak Italian.
Right.
So we used him as like the middleman who would take me around, take me to all the wineries, have all the negotiations. He was really good at first. Like we get them down, by €1 in cost and things like that. And I trusted him, worked with him for 3 years, no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then like again, around last year, I paid him for a load of stock, 60 grand, and he just went missing. Like completely dropped off the face of the earth, and I had no wine and no money.
And this is like, what he's supposed to do, because this is not someone you've just like picked off the street or found on Alibaba or whatever. No. This is somebody that
you've got contracts with.
You've worked for 3 years. Yeah. You think you've got a bit of a rapport, a bit of a business relationship in that time.
Yeah.
I always worry about that. I always worry about this.
Because it's exactly that. It's like such a shock, because you think when you're initially talking to someone, you are a bit hesitant. Like, I don't know you yet, and we don't know how this relationship's going to pan out. But with him, it's like we've been on a million dinner, been out for dinner a million times. Like I've met your wife.
Yeah.
You've delivered wine to us, no problem, for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you've gone off the grid.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, is he dead? Like, what the hell's happened?
Exactly. So you'd probably be thinking, oh my God, is his welfare okay?
Yeah, that was
because
my
you just
initial...
couldn't believe that like somebody would just go missing and rob all your cash.
That was my initial thought. And then I was wishing he was dead. When I figured out.
I can imagine. So how do you pay them? Or was that the full order, 60 grand up front? You've given the 60 grand up front?
No, I'd paid it over time.
Right.
So it was usually, it's different terms now, but it was like 30, 30, 30.
Yeah.
And so I'd paid it over time, like the first 30, the second 30, and now we were paying the last 30, and that's when the wine should be released.
Yeah.
So he'd actually paid them the first 30. Right. That was fine.
Yeah.
The second 30, he'd paid half of it.
Right.
And then now we were at the final 30, he hadn't paid any of it. So the winery had actually had 50% payment.
Okay.
So I actually said to them, I approached the winery, obviously, because by now I've got a relationship direct, but I'd just never really we had contracts and stuff in place, so I wasn't going to just go behind his back. I'd hate people doing that to me. Yeah. So I wouldn't do it to him. I wasn't going to cut him out. I was happy with how it was going. Yeah. But obviously when this happened and he fell off the face of the earth, I then spoke directly with the winery.
Had they heard from him or anything?
No. Right. He dropped off the earth to them as well. So they were like, look, we're trying to find him. Yeah. He's very well known in the wine world. Yeah. So like everyone knows him, especially in that region. Because it's a very small, tight-knit community. Especially on like the more premium wines,
absolutely.
They all know each other. So they were like, basically everyone's gunning for Giuseppe because we're not the only ones.
Giuseppe, you bastard!
Yeah, Giuseppe. Yeah. Everyone was gunning for him. So they didn't know.
Sloppy Giuseppe.
So I reached out to them and I said, look, rather than me having to pay the full amount again, which is what's going to have to happen here, how about I just pay you the other 50% so that at least I'm not losing 60, I'm losing 30. I'll pay you the other 50% and you just send me the wine. They're like, no, can do, we can't, because the contract is with Giuseppe, and Italian wine law is that strict that there is no way that even if he's dropped off the earth, even if he's a con man, even if he's dead, whatever, there is no way we can physically give that wine to anyone else.
I would have banged another 25 grand. No, I would have given him another 10 grand on top of them and gone, give me that wine.
I know. Well, they're just adamant. Like there's no way. So at that point, I was just like, what am I going to do? Like we tried for ages we sent legal letters. We phoned the Italian police. They were like, haha,
nothing we can do. Yeah.
Nothing we can do. We don't care. So
just got to get the bounty hunt around for Giuseppe.
Well,
I hope we bump into him one day. I hope someone finds him. Do you know what I mean?
I wish I was more like well connected in the gangster world, because like I would have
not just do it yourself, but just like
punch his head in.
Yeah, slap him right up. What are you supposed to do? 60 grand. Not only like you stole my money, you're a thief, mate.
Yeah, you are.
But also you're taking me for a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I take that out, So I've come to Italy today to wring your bloody neck.
Yeah, I know.
Now get me that money or whatever.
I know.
I mean, maybe he is dead because
Well,
because what if he's done this to the wrong person?
Yeah. Well, I haven't got to the end of the story yet. He actually messaged me, funnily enough. So this was over a year ago, haven't heard a word from him. Dropped off the air. Winery hasn't heard from him. Pops back up about 2 weeks ago. Hello.
How are you?
No, he was like, do you want to pick this wine up? I was like, what?
You've got a nerve, mate.
Are you actually messing me? He's like, yeah, do you want to pick it up? I'm like,
where have you been?
Well, A, yeah, but B, where have you been? And I'm trying like to control my anger.
Yeah, because you kind of want to be slowly catchy monkey. Yeah.
Boil. And I'm like, where he's like, oh yeah, I'm about to die of cancer. So basically, like,
I'm not being funny though. You could have told us that.
My words, exactly. But I don't think he had cancer when he did this, right? Maybe he did, but he didn't know about it.
Maybe he's lying now.
Because I've spoke to the winery since, and they've like known from the community or his family or whatever. They said they think he's trying to like undo all his bad deeds before he dies.
Oh, really?
So he's now trying before he's died to like repay. It's not just me, it's robbed. Obviously, there's other people.
Maybe he was using the money for some kind of cancer treatment or something. And was so desperate they couldn't actually tell anyone.
Yeah.
But he needs to sit down and level and say, do you know what, Kath? Yes, I took your money and this is what I did with it.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to die and I've got no reason to tell you this apart from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you need a bit of atonement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, so that's what the winery said to me. They think that's exactly what he's after.
Right.
And he's now paid them what he owed them. So that additional like 50% that he needed to pay them, he's now paid them that.
Right.
So he's saying to me, you can go pick your wine up. I'm like, well, A, that's great, but B, it's got a 2-year shelf life and we're over a year now. It's nearly a year and a half. So you're giving me 6 months to sell it, which I probably can now at this stage, thankfully. But even still, like, is the quality okay? I don't know.
Yeah.
I need to really be sure. Otherwise, what's the point in spending 10 grand on shipping it all?
Yeah.
If it's going to be crap quality. So that's where I'm up to with it. I've asked them to send me a sample of the wine.
Right.
So that I can check that the quality is still high, because I'm not going to, all my customers like yours, they're so loyal to us.
Absolutely. I'm
not going to send them like a year and a half old wine that tastes of poo. If it tastes completely fine. Then I will.
Yeah.
But if not, I'll just leave it there and I'll wipe my hands of it, because by this point we've already kind of like written it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like my second drama. And then because of that, so I was never really looking for an investor yet, because I knew it didn't look great on paper yet. As I said, I was waiting to make a profit to be like, okay, I'm going to get more bang for my buck when I do get an investor.
Yeah.
I knew at some point I would need one, because for the plans that I have, they're very big and they require cash. So I thought, if I can hold out as long as I possibly can, and then I'll onboard someone. But what happened was, because he took that money, so I'd spent that 60 grand, I had to re-spend that.
Yeah.
That took all my money out my pot. Like, I was basically skint.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm skint now. I need an investor, because otherwise I cannot grow the business, especially with all the overheads.
Well, that's the thing. You've got your overhead, you've got your overheads, you've got your VAT, you've got, like I said, you've got your cash flow. Mm-hmm. Are you in any retailers?
No.
Right.
No. So we online retailers,
okay.
But not like
physical shops.
Shops, yeah.
Okay.
We predominantly sell either online or in like premium bars, restaurants, hotels.
Right.
One day maybe retail, but it's just, I was approached by one of them, and the price was like, I'd be making a loss, and I wasn't in a position to make a loss. If I had a load of cash, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And then they don't pay on time. And so you need a lot of cash in the bank to go into retail. People don't realise that.
Yeah.
I turned down an opportunity in Boots. They were like, oh, we'd like to come to pitch your product. I was like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
I really don't want to go into retail.
Yeah. Because you know what they're going to do.
Yeah. And they just rip you off. You're fighting against every other brand in there. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Same. Well, same. I mean, obviously there is some retailers I'd really like, like Harvey Nicks. Mm-hmm. I'd love that. It's a great fit for the product.
Yeah.
And it's probably they're not going to hammer you down in the same way like you.
Low volume for them too.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like
it's
not very
easier to manage.
Of course it is. Yeah, it's not actually a big risk going into a premium shop. People think it's like very prestigious and really hard, but like Selfridges is so low volume.
Yeah. You know. So they're the types that I wouldn't mind. But in terms of like your big ones, I'm not really that interested. Maybe in the future, but definitely not now. So yeah, I knew I had to onboard an investor, and I was like, right, well, how am I going to go about this now? Should I do a crowdfund? Everyone kept asking me to do a crowdfund because I'm like, I'm always posting on LinkedIn and stuff. Yeah. People on LinkedIn going like, oh, do a crowdfund, I'll get involved. And I was like, that's actually quite a good idea, but I didn't really know anything about crowdfunding. By the time I'd learned about it, I'm like, wow, that's a lot. It's a lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort to put in the pitch to get the crowdfund, to like actually get the page. There are specialist companies that do it, or seeder companies, things like that. Yeah. But it's a big thing to go through, and a lot of red tape and a lot of terms and conditions people don't actually realise. And it takes a few months to do that. Yeah.
And even still, the people I'd spoke to who had done it said it was their biggest regret. Wow. They said that it had, I'm sure there's loads of people out there who say it's amazing, but these people that I've spoken to said the shares are so like messed up. Yeah. And there's, because there's so many people behind the scenes. I know you're only really dealing with one or two on behalf of all the people, but there's that many people shouting behind the scenes that everyone wants to put the 2 pence in. Yeah. And it becomes very messy, especially like if it comes from LinkedIn. Yeah. They're messaging you directly. Even if they've got someone like at the front who's supposed to talk on their behalf, they still message you directly, and I'm not one to just ignore them. They put a tenner in, but they want to tell you this, that, and the other.
Well, I saw this on the website, and I'm not quite happy with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
well, thanks. Just for me.
Thanks, hon.
Yeah, no. Tell you what, I know it's very difficult to self-fund. We are self-funded, and I've always gone down the chat of investors. Mm-hmm. And then I look at some people who've done investment around me, and I think, my God,
it's messy.
What you have to deal with, the reporting into the investor, I'd rather not do it.
Like the whole board and everything. Like it does. It's
not for me. So go on. So you're looking for an investment because I'm thinking, Giuseppe's done you over.
Because of Giuseppe, I'm skint. So I'm like, okay, I need an investor. I'll have to get one. Yeah. So I was about to do crowdfund, and then I got approached. It was actually one of the girls that I know quite well, really. She introduced me to this guy, and she was like, look, he's a fund manager. He's looking to invest in like small businesses in the UK. He's doing this, that, and the other. Like, just have a chat. He'd already like reached out to me on LinkedIn as well. So like, I was like, oh, okay. Like he's obviously keen. He's, seen what we're up to. He knows what the business is about and what I'm about. Yeah. So that's quite nice. And so I started speaking to him, and he sold me the dream. It was very much, he just bought, imagine like a Trafford Centre style thing in Miami. Okay. Like this big Miami complex. Then he'd bought an island in Australia called Dunk Island. He's like, oh, I'm going to put you on the island as the only bubbly on the whole island. So, it's going to be amazing. And he just sold me the dream. And he's like, oh, we've got 5 franchises of the Hard Rock Cafe. We've got this, that, and the other. We'll walk you in. He's like, we're not just investing in you. We're a strategic partner, and we're going to walk you into 1 million venues. So I'm like, oh, great news. My life's made.
Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, well, because it is. Guess where this is going? So, like that was that. I was like, I was sold. I was all in. I thought, great. Started to get me solicitor drawing up the documents and everything. We went through the whole process. He was very pedantic throughout in terms of, can you change this language so that it's more American? Can you change this so it sounds more American?
Did you ever do like a Zoom call with him? And like,
I met him in real life.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I went to New York and met him.
Right.
He's from New York. His partner's from Australia. Right. So this is why.
So on the surface of it, this isn't looking like a scam.
Oh my God,
this is like completely legit.
There's Googled it.
Yeah, you've Googled everything.
I've Googled him to death.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like, you've looked up Dunk Island. Yeah. You've looked up his business.
And it says he's bought Dunk Island.
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, completely legit. Mm-hmm. Feel confident about it. Yeah. Brilliant.
And that's why, like, I can laugh about it now, but obviously I was like, because I was saying to people, like, how could this be possible? Because it makes no sense, because he wasn't taking any money off me.
No. He was investing in the business.
He was investing in my business.
Yeah,
so why would you do that? And that's the bit I couldn't get my head around. But so I've met him in New York, nice as fire. Like my friends introduced me. I can't even remember the name of it.
It was like a nice dinner.
It was nice, yeah. It was, yeah. I can't remember. It was like just a place in New York that he decided on, and I just showed up.
Okay.
But it was, it was nice. I'd had multiple Zooms. By this point, my solicitor's involved. His solicitor is involved as well. And, we're exchanging contracts, we're exchanging notes, like the deal's done, like we've agreed the deal via Zoom. Everyone's happy. He's, got to stick to his promises. I've got to stick to mine. It is what it is. And then.
How many shares are you going to give him?
20%.
Okay. And what value, if you can say?
250 grand.
Okay, so he was going to give you 250 grand for 20% of your business. Yeah. So you value in the business, I can't do the maths. £1 million. Yeah. Okay.
So, and at the time it was very kind of, I guess, sounded about right. I mean, it was probably a little bit too good to be true because I was so new and I hadn't turned a profit, but because we were valuing it based on him saying straight away, you're going into Miami, into this complex. We were able to value it to include the Miami complex.
Were you?
Yeah, because he was allowing it.
I mean, from him, to do that.
Yeah.
From his side, because that's bumping up the value. Like it makes no sense for him to allow that, because if I was looking to invest in a company, I'd be thinking, well, no.
I want to get it as
low as possible. Yeah, for the most shares. Yeah. So,
but he was that, so for his portfolio, he was that desperate to get us on the portfolio because he didn't have like an alcohol brand. So he had this portfolio with all these things that he was investing in and doing. And it was all like events and entertainment and this, that and the other. But he was dying for an alcohol brand for this portfolio. So I was just like, he's dead keen. And because he'd followed me on LinkedIn for ages, I thought he's just obviously emotionally invested.
Yeah.
And he's thinking like, I'll just put it in all these places. It's going to fly. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And it started like giving advice on certain things. He'd give me some introductions to people.
Yeah.
Who I've since gone back and gone, hello, do you actually know this man?
Yeah.
But anyway, it all seemed legit from every angle.
Yeah.
And I involved lots of people.
Yeah.
I involved like solicitor, my business coach, literally involved everyone. So it wasn't even just me, like we were all hook, line and sinker because he was that convincing.
Yeah.
So then anyway, deal gets signed off. He's supposed to have sent the money within a week from the deal being signed. By this point, I'm spending money I don't have.
Right.
So bought a new van because I'm doing loads of deliveries. Like the business is growing organically, but I can't keep up with the cash flow, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So even like when we get a big order, I have to pay the duty on that to release it from the warehouse. So then that's a load of money up front before I've even been paid 2 months down the line.
Yeah.
So it's like I just couldn't keep on top of the cash flow, but I'm getting myself in debt thinking it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because
250 is going to land in a week.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Don't worry.
Buy the van, pay for that, get that on your credit card. Yeah. What does it matter? The money's landing. So I'm starting to get myself into debt now.
Yeah.
And then, a week goes by, the money's supposed to be in. Where is it? Oh, don't worry about it. It's the sat in the 2 weeks. Well, where's the money?
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming. 3 weeks, where's the money? The money never came, is the outcome.
So is his solicitor dealing with your solicitor in this time? Like, where's the money?
Yeah, we were all on top of him.
Right.
So he then started blaming this company, which is like an admin firm called Centaur.
Right.
He started blaming them, saying like, I told Centaur to send the money. Why haven't they sent it? Blah, blah from Centaur's on holiday, so she can't make the transfer. Right. Or, they were blaming
There's always
the
an excuse.
Always an excuse. By this point, obviously, I'm like kind of thinking, oh God, my worst nightmare is coming true. And so I reached out to Centaur. And it was funny because he was like, that stint you pulled with Centaur, what did I pull? I just asked them. So I literally popped up to them and went, hello, I'm being told that you're not transferring me this money because blah, blah's on holiday and you're not doing this. This is true. They were basically like, we don't even know these guys. Like,
really?
We literally don't, like,
never heard of them.
They'd like set up an online account with them.
Right.
And then never used it. Right. So like they'd never done the due diligence. They'd never had money, never anything, because they'd just gone online and like set up an account so that they could then like put them on the website. So this Centaur, this trusted company, was all over their website. Right. They even have like Deloitte on their website, like trusted companies. They just whack them on the website, probably thinking no one's ever going to see.
Yeah.
So like all these things. And
Swindlers.
because they're so active on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
And they're chatting to people.
How old is he?
So I say about 45.
Right.
I would guess. But yeah, like, because he's so active on LinkedIn, he's chatting to his mates and his wife's there and all that. You're just thinking it's a real life man.
Well, this is the thing. It's like Tinder swindler, isn't it?
It's exactly like that. We call him that. Now in the office, we're like, oh, the Tinder swindler.
The LinkedIn swindler.
Yeah. The LinkedIn swindler. He's still at it, you know. So since then, obviously, months later, I finally realised that, you know, it's never going to come. And I said to him, like, look, I'm going to go public with all about you and like, what you are.
Yeah.
I made this big long LinkedIn video, put it on YouTube, put it on LinkedIn.
Did you name him, put his pictures on?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I did.
What's his name?
RJ Bucaria.
RJ Bucaria.
And Mark Spillane is the other one.
Okay,
Yeah.
So watch out for
Audi
these.
and Capital, stay clear.
Yeah.
But I put it on LinkedIn. They actually removed my post, but it's live on YouTube.
Right.
Because they were like, LinkedIn isn't a place to air your grievances.
It's not grievance though. Are you stopping people getting swindled?
Yeah, literally. I'm trying to save your people on your platform
who
from
are
this.
also businesses that could be easily swindled by these guys.
Yeah.
Luckily for you, you never parted with any cash. I mean, how far would it have gone? Really? I mean, at some point, would they say, oh, we need you to do this. You need to send us some money before we can send you money.
Yeah,
Do you think it would have got there?
I'm not really sure. I think the black and white of it now is they're using brands like me to put into their portfolio with our contract, like backing it up. Like, here's a contract of a deal signed so that they can raise fund. Yeah.
To
get money off other people.
Okay.
So luckily I was on the right side of the wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But other people, like I know some guy who's had 2 million taken from him.
Wow.
I've had another.
How?
I don't even know that story. That's deep. There was another guy who's had 300,000 taken off him. Like, he's took money off a lot of people. Luckily, I wasn't one of them. He's just made me get into debt. Whereas I would have just done a crowdfund, had the money, paid me debts, got me wine and cracked on.
Got your van sorted.
Instead, he's caused me a load of like mental issues.
Yeah.
Loss of staff. Getting into debt. You know, I've never even had like a credit card before.
No.
So I'm like running up bills on my credit card. I've never done that because I've used Social Nation's money.
Yeah.
Which was profit. So now I've ran up all this debt and I'm like, oh great, like thanks a lot. But I do understand that I'm actually one of the lucky ones because some of them have really been taken for money. But I think they were using like me and other people to say like, these are the brands we work with, invest in our fund. Yeah. They're taking the money from the fund and they're just embezzling the money or taking it wherever they're taking it. So they're very, very much just absolute con men. And now there is another, I've Googled them more recently, obviously. Right. If you Google them, you'll see my video come up. Okay. So a girl's messaged me on LinkedIn the other day, thank you so much for your video. They've been trying to get me. Yeah. So I know even that one person just makes me happy that I've stopped them from getting her. I've stopped them from other people as well that I've knew that they were talking to. Because this is where they do mess up. When they are like swindling you, they're talking about other businesses. Yeah. So they're going, oh, we know this business, we know that business, we know these. So then I started messaging all them then, going, do you really know them? Blah, 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 do you know about this? And then I ended up like, there's a lot of deals that I've ruined for them now. Right. That I've like pulled completely from under them. But I can't let myself get too derailed from my business by like being so bitter against them. Because I've spent a lot of time being bitter and I bet. And you know what? You know what? Yeah, fair enough. Okay, you might be in a bit of debt now. And I am talking a bit because in the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, zoom out, okay? So you've 3 years, you're at break-even point, okay? Let's say you have this business for the next 10, 15 years, okay? This 3 years will have been the hardest. So you've gone from like there, probably there to there. Do you know what I mean? And when you look back, you have learned an invaluable lesson and it might have cost you 60 grand to learn that lesson today. But my God, you've just told me about somebody who's lost 2 million. You'd rather learn that lesson for 60 grand and that'll be the best education you will ever have in your entire business life. Yeah. You know, and yes, you could have learned that lesson for a little bit cheaper, but maybe it wouldn't have hit home as hard. Yeah. Maybe it wouldn't have hit home as hard. Yeah. And you've also saved a lot of other people from making the same mistake. Yeah. So I want you to look back on this event and know it's upsetting for you. I actually want you to look at it like,
Glad it wasn't 100 grand.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look on the bright side.
It is. I know, like I have had a lucky escape. It's just, I think
it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it's put you back a bit.
Yeah. It's a knock of like confidence.
Of course.
Because I've always been like, people would speak to me about, you know, like imposter syndrome, things like that. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had that. Like, but now
I have delusions of grandeur.
Yeah. Like,
never mind imposter syndrome.
That's more like it. You know, that's much more like it. Previous.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah.
Like now.
It's like you've been kicked into touch a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God. Like, ooh.
Yeah. But don't let it make you risk averse because we all have knocks.
Yeah.
You know, everybody has knocks. Everyone wastes loads of money in the wrong direction. I was speaking to 2 female entrepreneurs, big ones, big money, big value companies, household names. And I was telling them about like the debacle I'd had. I'd lost a lot of money, 1 in shipping and 2 in marketing.
Yeah.
And they were like, we've all done it. And and when they told me their figures and how much they'd lost, I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah,
they were like, we've all done it. You know, these are multimillionaires. It's just what you go through. It's a rite of passage and you've gone through yours.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's surely up from here.
Of course, you're not going to like, you're going to be so cautious of anybody because even if someone goes, oh, I want to invest in your business, you'll be like, yeah, I heard it all before. Send in a pitch.
Exactly.
You pitch to me, mate.
Literally.
That's, you know. And
the due diligence has to be like equal on both ends.
Yeah.
So if someone's going to say to me, well, show me all your accounts, show me this, show me that. I'm like, okay, great. You show me yours.
Yeah.
Because it's got to go both ways.
Yeah.
I need to really trust you to let you have a piece of it. But really, realistically, I still need an investor.
Yeah.
I've got debt that, you know, I need to get rid of, really. I can build back to an extent, like alone, but I don't think I'll be able to reach like the goals without investment now. So I'm still on the lookout for an investor, but it's just got to be the right person.
Yeah. And almost somebody who's like a strategic partner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're going to put us in all the right venues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
It'll happen. It'll happen. I'm putting good thoughts out into the universe for you already.
I feel the aura.
Well, I think that was like, we're going to wrap up that chat there because I think like we've ended on a positive there. I know you've been through hell, but I think we talk a lot about hormonal health and health on this program, but also my last 2 podcasts, Rebecca McCann, Pro Blow, you know her, and this one has been more about like small businesses and female entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And me personally, I've loved it. And we have a lot of customers who run their own business, and I like getting to the nitty gritty because I'm sick of seeing highlight reels from like business coaches telling you how great things are. And I'm telling you now, all I ever do is
6-figure months.
Yeah.
Every month.
If I ever do a chat on marketing or anything, I just do a whole chat on how not to market your business. Like, this is how not to do it. So if you don't do any of these things, you're doing well. I tell them all the mistakes I've made because that's more invaluable than anything.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I agree. And I'm the same, but like, I think I've gone too much the other way now where like,
it's all doom and gloom.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's like people are like, oh, Katherine, how are you doing? You doing well? No, not really. Thanks though.
Yeah.
So like, and then they're like, oh. So I think I've got to get a bit of that level of like positivity back.
You are still doing well though, you know. You are. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
You know, your business is still valued.
It's still here.
A big number. Yeah. You're still selling lots of units.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great product. The thing is, the product stands up. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, and that's the best thing. Yeah. It is a low calorie alcoholic drink.
That tastes
really good. Nice. That will always stand the test of time. Yeah. And that's it. So if you just go hell to leather on that, there isn't a better Prosecco out there in terms of calorie consumption, sugar content and taste. I can tell you that for free.
Thank you so much.
So yeah.
Fab. Thank you.
Thanks, Kath.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I loved it.
Thank you.